All right, so we are holding by Amarava, by the asterisk, which is 11 lines from the bottom of Pei Gimel Amud Beis. 11 lines, very interesting Gemara tonight. So first the Gemara says, Amarava, Harizeh gitech almanas sheloi tishti yayin kol yemei chayai. If the husband says, here's your get on the condition that you don't drink wine all the days of my life, ein zeh krisis. That's not a good severance. Kol yemei chaye pliny, but if he says, here's your get all the days of the lifetime of Shmuel, harizeh krisis. That is a good severance. So the Gemara says, I don't understand the difference. Maishna chaye pliny, because there is a possibility that she will be freed and she won't be tied to him. The Dilma Mo'is, because maybe the man will die, and then Umekayma Leila tonight, the condition will be met, and she won't be tied anymore. Chai Didei Nami, his life also. Dilma Mo'is, maybe he'll die. Umekayma Leila tai. And the Gemara says, you're right. You know you're right. If he says all the days of your life, that you can't drink wine all the days of your life, then ein zeh krisis. Because then she's tied her entire life. She's never free. Kol yemei chayai, but if he says all the days of my life, or chaye pliny, or all the days of Shmuel's life, then harizeh krisis, because she could be freed if he dies or if Shmuel dies. Now, the Gemara gets a little wild. This is wild. Boimene Rava Rav Nachman. Rava asks Rav Nachman, Hayom at ishti. He says, today you're not my wife. Ulamachar at ishti. But tomorrow you are my wife. He says, today you're not my wife. Tomorrow you are. Mao. So the Gemara says, Tibayil Rabbi Eliezer, Tibayil Rabbanan. We could clear according to Rabbi Eliezer, who says that you could divorce someone except for one person, and you could clear according to Rabbanan, who says that you can't do that. Tibayil Rabbi Eliezer, Adkan like Rabbi Eliezer Hasam, that he says that it's good if you say you're divorced to everyone, permitted to everyone except for Shmuel. Ella Delamanda Kashari, because when he says you're permitted to everyone, Kashari Lailam, she's permitted to everyone forever. Aval, but we're here where he says only you're permitted today, but tomorrow you're not. Maybe even Rabbi Eliezer says, it's no good. No, maybe there's no difference. Tibayil Rabbanan, Adkan like Rabbanan Hasam, that it's no good because it's not a complete severance, because he said you're permitted to everybody except for Shmuel. He didn't free her completely. Aval cave in the paska. Once he said you're permitted to everyone, that's it. He says you should be asked tomorrow. He can't do that. Basa the boy, after he cleared the shaila hada pashta, he resolved it that's the way it is. If you say she's permitted to today, then that's it. You can't say tomorrow she's forbidden. You don't have the power to do that. And that's what the Gemara hada pashta mistabra bein l'Rebbe Eliezer bein l'Rabbanan cave in the paska. Once he cut her off and said you're permitted to everyone, that's it. He can't then say you should be prohibited the next day. And now get a load of this. Tan Rabbanan. Harizeh gitech almanashe tunasi leploni. He says, here's your get on the condition that you marry Shmuel. So the psak is harizuloi tunasi. She shouldn't marry Shmuel. V'im nisis, but if she marries Shmuel, then loy teitze. She doesn't have to leave him. Now, what's over here is we're afraid that people will say that you could give your wife as a gift. This is like wife trading. So the Gemara says, "My karma, what's going on over here?" Amar Rav Nachman, hachi karma. Harizuloi tinosiloi. She can't. He says you're divorced on the condition that you marry Shmuel. You shouldn't marry Shmuel. Why? Shema yomer neshayim noisnim matana. Lest they say that Jews give their wives as gifts. The imnisis la'achar. If she marries someone else, like Teitzei, she doesn't have to leave that someone else. Now that can't be. Because he gave a conditional get, you're divorced if you marry Shmuel. So if she doesn't marry Shmuel, how could she marry someone else? She's not divorced. Says Mishum Gezer, because we don't want people to say that you're giving your wife as a get, as a gift. You don't take her away from another husband. And you permit her. She's not divorced because the Tanai wasn't fulfilled. You'd be permitting adultery. Al-Amr of Nachman Hachi Kamer. She shouldn't marry Shmuel, Shema Yomer, because that looks bad. It looks like Neshayim Noisnim B'Matana. They're giving their wife as a gift. V'im Nizislai, if she does marry Shmuel, so then she fulfills the condition and she's divorced, Loi Teitzei. Why? The Mishum Gezeira, because of a decree, Loi Mapkina, we're not going to take her away, even though it doesn't look good, but because of a decree, once they get married, we're not going to make her separate from Shmuel. Amalei Rava loyhu delaytinase. The words don't sound good. Loyhu delaytinase. She's just not allowed to marry Shmuel. Hala acher tinase, but she's allowed to marry someone else. That can't be, because since he says you're divorced only if you marry Shmuel, if she doesn't marry Shmuel, she's not divorced. She can't marry anybody else. Vaboy kiyum elitanai. So now the Gemara suggests an interesting possibility. Maybe we should say that she could marry someone else and she'll say, eventually I'll marry Shmuel and fulfill the Tanai. And we're not worried that she won't do it later. V'chi tema, says the Gemara, afshe de mitzvah, she can marry somebody else now, or migrasha and get divorced, or lamachar, and then later on, or mekayma l'tna. You'll say maybe she won't do that. So it's going according to the one that argues around Rabbi Yehuda and says we don't worry that the person won't fulfill the Tanai. Ulahach the pligas alei the Rabbi Yehuda kamedamaslei, and we compare it to the one that argues on Rabbi Yehuda. This is a case in Masechtas Nadar. What happened over here is Mark Frankel said that I should be forbidden to sleep on Friday if I sleep on Shabbos. Mark was very moved when he heard that to be a Shomer Shabbos, you should be awake. Because how can you be a Shomer Shabbos if you're sleeping? You can't be a Shomer if you're sleeping. So Mark said, no sleeping for me Shabbos afternoon. No way. And in order to make it stick, he said it should be forbidden for me to sleep on Friday if I sleep on Shabbos. So is he allowed to sleep on Friday? It's only a neder if he sleeps on Shabbos. So is he allowed to sleep on Friday? So Rabbi Yehuda says we don't allow Mark to sleep on Friday because maybe he'll sleep on Shabbos, and then the sleep on Friday retroactively would be a transgression of his neder. It would be a lav of lo yachal devara. The Rabbanan say no, he could sleep on Friday. He just makes sure that he doesn't sleep on Shabbos, so he won't activate the neder. Remember, the neder was, it should be forbidden when a neder for me to sleep on Friday if I sleep on Shabbos. So the imar koinem einai b'shine hayayim, I should be forbidden to sleep on Friday im ishin l'macher if I sleep on Shabbos. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, Al Yishan Hayom, we don't allow him to sleep on Friday. Shema Yashin L'macha, because maybe he'll sleep on Shabbos, and then that will activate his neder, and if he slept on Friday, he would be retroactively over the issue of L'yachal Devarei. Rav Nachman says, no, Mark is a trustworthy guy. Yashin Hayom, he'll sleep on Friday, and then he'll make sure not to sleep on Shabbos. Ve'ein choishishin Shema Yashin L'macha. So the Gemara says, according to Rav Nachman, who argues on Rabbi Yehuda, the same thing. Maybe we allow her to marry somebody else, and eventually she'll marry Reuven later. And then it won't look like that he gave his wife as a gift, because it'll be later, and she'll fulfill it tonight. So the Gemara says, what are you talking about? What kind of comparison is that? Here, it's within Mark's power to make sure that he's not over the neder. He just makes sure that he won't sleep on Shabbos, even if he has to poke himself with thorns. It's up to him. He could poke himself with thorns on Shabbos, to make sure that he doesn't fall asleep. I mean, he had 3 plates of cholent and his eyes are closing, so he uses the thorn method, right? And he makes sure he won't sleep. But over here, how could you say that she makes sure that she's married to Reuven? She's married to somebody else who knows that somebody else will divorce her. Is it up to her that she should get divorced from the present husband to make sure that she marries Reuven? Ella Amarava, that's the way it is. If he says, you're divorced in case you're divorced on the condition that you marry Reuven, she can't marry Reuven, and she can't marry someone else. She can't marry Reuven, so that people shouldn't say that men give their wives away as gifts. That they give their wives as gifts. She can't marry someone else, because since she's not marrying Reuven, she didn't fulfill the condition and she's not divorced. The boy kiyum tonight. However, if she does marry Reuven, okay, it's not nice because it looks like he gave his wife as a gift, but she doesn't have to leave Reuven. The Mishum Gezerah, because of the fact that we don't want people to say that they're giving their wives as a gift, like Mapkinan, we don't take a woman away from her husband. But La'achar, if she marries someone else, because she's not divorced. She's not divorced because he said it's only a get if she marries a woman. Reuven, the boy she has to fulfill the condition, which she didn't do. Tani Kavasi the Rava, we have a Bryce like Rava. She's not allowed to marry. She's not allowed to marry him. She's not allowed to marry someone else. If she does marry Reuven, fulfilling the Tanai and making the get a good get, like Teitzei. If she marries someone else, since the Tanai wasn't fulfilled and she wasn't divorced, Teitzei, she has to leave. So now we're going to talk about another case. Let's say Chatzkel makes a condition that can't be fulfilled. Here's your get on the condition that you don't sleep for 10 days. Now, a person can't go 3 days without sleeping. So he says, here's your get on the condition you don't sleep for 10 days. Here's your get on the condition that you swallow 6,000 Frankfurters in 1 hour. Can't do that. Maybe 600, but not 6,000. Right? So, Bapashtis, you'll say, so she's not divorced. Since she can't fill the condition, she's not divorced. That's the Pashtus. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema says not that way. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema says that since from the get-go, it's a condition that can't be fulfilled, we say he didn't really mean it. He just said it to aggravate her. And therefore, it is a good get. And believe it or not, we paskin like Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. Now, the Gemara has other examples than my 6,000 Frankfurters. I'm sure you're surprised that that wasn't the Gemara's example. But, so let's see the Gemara inside. Tanrabanan. Harizegite, here's your get, al menashe tali l'rakia. On the condition that you fly up to the sky. Al menashe teri l'tayim. That you go down to the deep. You go down all the way to China. Al menashe tivli kona shel dal amas. On the condition that you swallow a reed that's 8 feet. Al menashe tivili kona ben kufam. On the condition that you bring me a reed the size of 200 feet. Now all these things are impossible feats. Al menashe tavriyas hayam agadol b'raglecha. On the condition that you cross the entire Mediterranean with your feet. So, Bapasha, since all these things can't be done, and he gave a conditional get, if she doesn't fulfill the condition, it's not a get. And that's the opinion of the Tanakama. Ain't a get. It's not a get. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema Imer Kizeh get. It is a good get. Klal Omer Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. This is a principle that Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema says, Kol Tnai she'i efshaloi l'kaimai b'sayfai. If it cannot be fulfilled, B'hisna alav mitchilasai, and he stipulated with it in the beginning, Eino yela kimafliga b'dvarim. It's only to aggravate her, and we don't pay attention to the condition. Because, therefore it's a good get. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Alach Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. The law is like Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. Amar Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, Masnisa Nami Deka. The Mishnah also implies this way. The Ketani, there's a Mishnah in Bava Metzia. Kol she'ev shaloi l'kaimai b'sayfai, any condition that can be fulfilled, v'hisna Allah b'tchilasai, and you stipulate it in the beginning, t'nai kaim, mashma, ha'i efsher, but if it's a condition that cannot be met, t'nai batal, we ignore the whole condition, and it's good, shmamina. Oh, now, this is interesting. Let's say he tells her, here's the condition, here's the get on the condition that you have bacon and eggs. You have boar's head. Right? So Abaye says that's like crossing the Mediterranean by foot. Just like you can't cross the Mediterranean by foot, a Jew can't eat boar's head. So it's also a condition that can't be met. That's the opinion. Interesting. That's the opinion. It's really a pleasure to welcome in Avram Shenkman. Avram, we've been missing you, and it's wonderful to have you. By the way, I just want to let everybody know that everybody should make plans, those that are living around Fairways, that next Monday night is the Siyum. I'm going to come 150 miles again from the country in order to be by the Siyum. So next Monday night, Mincha is going to be what time?
7:35.
Mincha will be 7:35, getting earlier. Mincha will be 7:35, and then will be Mishnah Yomis and Mariv, and then will be the end of the Daf and the Siyum. A gala Siyum here in the shul, so please, everybody that's within driving distance, please join us. Moshe Jackman and Reb Kramer, and of course Baruch Ian and boy Nachman. We hope you should be out of the hospital, and Saba and anybody else that wants to come, we'd love to have you join us for a gala Siyum on Masechtas Gittin. Mark, did I welcome in everybody tonight? Probably not, right? I did? Yeah? I did. Well, not everybody, because Ben Zion Cohn came in, and Eddie Chazan came in, Moshe Jackman, Ilya Shutman, everybody really welcome to joining us. So anyway, so Abayas, Abaye says, Amar Abaye, he. According to Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, just like we ignore where he said on the condition that that you walk through the Mediterranean by feet, can't do that. So a Jew can't eat boar's head. Rava says, no, it's different. You can't swallow an 8-foot reed. You can't eat boar's head. You'll get malchus, but you can't do it. That's what he's saying. I want to see if you'll take a beating to get divorced from me. You'll get 39 lashes. So Rav Amar, Efshad da'achlo v'lakya. It's possible for her to eat and get malchus. And therefore it's not the same as flying up to the sky, which is impossible. Labaya, now whenever it says klal, it comes to include something. Labaya, klal, the word a principle is la'asuye basa chazir. That basa chazir also is something that's it can't be done, and therefore it's also not going to interfere with the get. L'rava, it says kazeh get. Kazeh is a miut. Kazeh l'mute basa chazir. Meisvei. So the Gemara says, well, we see not like Abaya. He says, here's your get on the condition that you have relations with a man, let's say with Yosel. If you fulfill the Tanai, it's a good get. V'imlav ain't a get, because that's possible, because she could pay Yosela to marry her for the night. So that's possible. On the condition that you don't sleep with your father and with your father, or with my father or your father, that's also easy to fulfill. She's divorced, and we don't worry that she's going to sleep with his father or her father. But it doesn't say the case of on the condition that you sleep with my father or your father. It doesn't say. It doesn't say that that's a good get. So, Labaya, right? It says that if he says on the condition that you sleep with my father or your father, it doesn't say that if you do it, it's a get. If you don't do it, it's not a get. Right? It says that if you sleep with someone, but it doesn't say if you sleep with my father or your father. So that's labaya nicha. That's because we say sleeping with my father or your father is impossible, because it's an issa doraisa. It's an issa misa. So Abai considers it like saying you're going to cross the Mediterranean, but l'Rava kasha. But according to Rava, it's shver, because Rava says that is possible. You do it aveira, but it is possible. Says Rava, that's different. In the case eating basar chazir, the person could eat basar chazir. It's up to her. She could do it. But here, even if she wants to sleep with his father or her father, with her father or her father-in-law, but they won't want to do the yisr. So that's talking not possible even according to Rava. Amalach Rava Bishleim Basar Chazir Efshad da'achla v'lakya. Ploini nami, if he says on the condition that you sleep with so-and-so, that's possible. Efshad d'meshachta be'mimleina. She could bribe him to marry her for the night. Ella abba v'avicha, but to sleep with her father-in-law or her father, which is a capital crime, b'didakaim, is that up to her? Nehei the ear of the yisur, even though she could do the yisur, But Abba Vavicha Miyavda Yisur, she can't get them to do the Yisur. So the Rava, according to the Rava, Klal, when it says Klal, it's coming to tell you that there are other cases where if the get is not possible, if the Tanai is not possible, it's a good get. That comes to include his father or her father, because that's also not possible. Kizeh, where we say this is a get, but there's another case that's not a get, that's Lamute Bas Chazir, because that's not a get, because she could eat the boar's head. She could have Malchus and could eat the boar's head. If she doesn't, it's not a good get. Labaya Klal Asiyeh Bas Chazir, because he holds the Bas Chazir is also impossible for a Jew to do, just like crossing the Mediterranean. If he says on the condition that you sleep with so-and-so, that's possible even according to Abaya, because she could be mishached him to marry him for that night. To marry her for that night. So now, the Gemara seems to ask a knockout blow to Abaya. Meisvei. He says, here's your get on the condition that you eat boar's head. And if she's a Yisraelis, on the condition you eat truma. And if she was a Nazarite, so niskayim at Tanai, if she fulfills the Tanai and drinks the wine, eats the truma, eats the pork, how is that get? V'imlav ain't a get. Now that's not like Abaya, because Abaya says since it's impossible, he didn't mean the condition. So the Rava Nicha, according to Rava, it's good, because Rava said that she could eat it and get Malchus. So according to Rava, it's good, but Abaya kasha. So Abaya says, wait a second. Who says that if it's impossible, then it's not a real Tanai, and it was only to aggravate her? That's only Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. According to Rabbanan, even if it's impossible, it's a Tanai. This is going according to Rabbanan. When you give an impossible Tanai, do we disregard the Tanai? Is that everybody's opinion? No, that's only Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema's opinion. Hamani Rabbanani. This is going according to Rabbanan that say that even if it's impossible Tanai, it's still an effective Tanai, and only if you eat the chazir or the truma or the wine will it be a good get. Says Gemara, but I don't understand. How could you make a Tanai to eat basar chazir? That's masna masha kasa b'tayra. Now this is a sugya malaya mesechtes kedushin. If a person says you should be mikudeshes to me on the condition, this guy's a real cheapie, right? He says you should be mikudeshes to me on the condition that there's no she'era ksusa v'ainasa. I'm not giving you food, I'm not giving you clothing, I'm not giving you marital intimacy. Now the Torah says she'era ksusa v'ainasa lo yigra. So says the Gemara, the Tefik lay the masna masha kos b'tayru, by saying, here's your get on the condition that you eat pork, that's stipulating against what it says in the Torah. V'kol masna masha kos b'tayru t'noi batal. And whoever makes the din is, if he says, Ariyama kadeshes li almanasha ein lachalai sher ksus v'aynasa, she's engaged, she's mikudeshes, and he has to give sher ksus v'aynasa. We just ignore it tonight that goes against the Torah. So why don't we say over here she's divorced and we ignore the Tanai about eating the pork? That's the support, the clothing, and the marital intimacy, because he's the one that's uprooting it. So we say that he's masna masha kos b'tayra, he can't do that, and the Tanai is batal. Aval hacha, but over here, she's the one that's going to eat the pork. Says Gemara, but she's eating the pork because he stipulated it. She's uprooting it only in order to fulfill his condition. Ishtakach the iyu ka'akar, he's uprooting it. Alama Ravina ki amina masna mashkas b'tar t'na bato kigain sheira k'susavay nasa devadei ka'akar. And this is interesting. The way the Rishonim learned this is that if he says Hariyat Mekudeshesli Amanash she'ein li alai she'ein lach alai she'erik susavay nasa, then that would definitely uproot the Torah, because even if he ends up giving it to her, he won't be giving it out of a Torah obligation. He'll be giving it as a gift, because he's definitely uprooting what it says in the Torah. But here it's not definite. She doesn't have to eat the basar chazir, and she won't be divorced. Is he telling her it's not enough that you don't eat? She doesn't have to eat, and she just won't be divorced. So he's not surely uprooting something that's written in the Torah. Now the Mishnah says, if he said, here's your get, and you should be divorced from everyone except for Shmuel. So Rabbanan say it's no good. So they say, what do you have to do? You have to take the get back from her and give it again and say you're divorced to everyone. You're permitted to everyone. Now, so that means that our Mishnah holds that you can't just say it, you know what, to everyone. You have to take the get back. Now, we had a machloikis about this. Remember, we had the case where Chatzkel tells Sarah he's ashamed. So he tells Sarah, Konsi shtar chayv zeh, take this promissory note. And then she finds out it's a get. So he said it's not good unless he says you should be divorced. But the Rabbanan say it's enough for him to say divorce. He doesn't have to take back the get and give it again. Reb Shimon Elazar says you have to take back the get and give it again. So from over here that it says that he has to take back the get, it would seem this is going according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Let's see it inside. Kay said Yasa, what should he do? If he said you should be divorced from everyone, you should be permitted to everyone except for Shmuel, then he has to take the get back and say it should be permitted to everyone. Yidlena imena. So Mantana, Amr Chizkir, Reb Shimon Elazari. This is going according to Reb Shimon Elazar. The Tanya Reb Shimon Elazar Aimer, that if he says Konsi shtar chayv zeh, take this promissory note, it's only good actually Yitlena imena. He has to take it away from her, v'yalza v'yitnenela, and give it back to her. Hey Gittin, here's your get. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Afilu Tema Rebbe. Rabbi Yochanan says that our Mishnah could be even going according to Rebbe that says over there you don't have to take the get back. For Rabbi Yochanan says Dilchain Amar. Now Rashi explains that Rav Kahana, who was a Babylonian, then went up to Eretz Yisrael and he told a lot of Mamorim over to Rabbi Yochanan. And he was called Dilchan, one of yours, because Rav Kahana was initially from Bavel. Dilchain Amar, Shani Hacha, it's different in the case on our Mishnah, because in our Mishnah when he says you should be divorced to everyone except Shmuel, the divorce is chal to aser ha lekahuna. You remember we said even isha grusha me isha lo yikachu. So since the divorce is chal and it has a chalais, in order to change it, you have to take the get back, even according to Rebbe, and give it and say it correctly. Shani yacha hayil b'kan also the pasal by lekuna. Since the first time there is a chalais to disqualify her from kuna, so therefore, you have to make a do-over and take back the get and say it the right way. Now, we said that if you wrote it in the get, you wrote in the body of the get, here's Hariyat Materis called Adam Chutz Mishmuel, then even if you erase it, the get has already been ruined. Because since it was written and from the writing it wasn't a complete creases, even if you erase it, that get is no good. You got to tear it up and write another get. Amar Rav Safra, Kasvu b'soichay tanan. It means if you write it inside it. So the Gemara says, duh. That's what the Mishnah says. Pshita, kasvu b'soichay tanan. It says if you write it inside it. So the Gemara says, well, Mao the same, I might think, Hani mili la'achar ha'torif. I might think that where do we say it only has to be if it's written? That's if you write it after the essential clause, Hariat Muteres l'Kol Adam. Aval lifnei ha'torif, but if you didn't write the essential clause of Hariat Muteres, even if you said it, that she's mutter to Shmuel, she's still forbidden to Shmuel, and then wrote Hariat Muteres, it disqualifies the Hariat Muteres. Aval lifnei ha'torif afilu al peh nami pas. Even if you said it orally, it disqualifies it. Kamash Malan, no. That it only disqualifies it if you wrote it in the body. But if you didn't write it in the get, even if you said it, that you should be forbidden to Shmuel before the Sefer writes Hariat Muteres l'Kol Adam, the get itself is not ruined. The Rava says, no, that's the way it is. Lo yishanu ela la'achar ha'torif. The only time where it's a problem, only if you write it, is if you write it after the Hariat Muteres l'Kol Adam. Aval lifnei ha'torif, but if before he writes Hariat Muteres l'Kol Adam, the husband says, you're also to Shmuel, afilu al peh nami pas. Even orally, it's passes it. V'az the Rava l'tameh, and Rava goes according to his reasoning. Da'amar lahu Rava lahano de ksive gite. Rava told those that write a get, whatever you do, keep the husband quiet until they write Hariat Muteres l'Kol Adam. I don't care if you have to muzzle him. Shasku shesuke labal. Make sure he's quiet. Ad de kesvisu le'torif de gita. Until you write Hariat Muteres l'Kol Adam. Because if he says something, that will affect the Hariat Muteres l'Kol Adam, and what he says would be binding. And if he says something disqualifying, like that she should be forbidden to this guy, then it will ruin the get, and you can't use the get. You would have to tear it up. Okay, we're going to stop over here, Rabbi Yisai. I want to remind everybody that tomorrow there's no daf because we have the shir at the Irgun Shirei Torah. Do you know how they listen to that live? Is there a way? You probably could look it up. There probably is a way to tune into the shir live, because I know Irgun Shirei Torah streams it. That's at 9 o'clock. If you're in Flatbush area, please come at 9 o'clock to the Boston Shul on J and East 28th, and we will reconvene with a daf and a chumash shir Wednesday evening, back from in the country. Be'ezus Hashem, we do not have a sponsor yet at all. We don't have a sponsor yet for the Wednesday night shir. 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Thank you for joining us, and now we're going to learn the Mishnah Yomis.